I could say this, there's nothing more disappointing than being excited for something that you're going to watch and hoping that it goes a certain way. And then you actually tune into that thing that you're going to watch and it doesn't live up to your expectations. It's a very bad feeling. And I find myself very disappointed right now due to an event that I watched on Sunday. And I'm not going to get mad at them. They did the best they could. Tried to make the most out of a very good situation. Looked like everything was in place for everything to go well, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be. But that doesn't make me any less upset or angry over how it all went down. I was so excited to see it, and to walk away that disheartened, it's a sucky feeling, man. For the first time in my life, I actually gave a shit about soccer. And then the women's USA soccer team wasn't able to win the World Cup. I was so fucking disappointed. First time in my life, I actually get invested in soccer of all games, which I've never liked. Never liked soccer. I finally give a shit, and our girls lose. Congratulations, Japan. Y'all earned it, but oh god, it's pissing me off. First time in my life you care about something and then you get heartbroken like that. It sucks. But I got cheered up later that day. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view was very good. I said I was going to order it. I did, and it was awesome. Mainly for the Punk and Cena main event. That was the reason I tuned in. That was the reason I decided to pay my money for it. And, the rest of the show was alright. I mean, there was nothing terrible. I mean, Henry and Big Show was mercifully short. The Divas match was mercifully short. Everything else, the ladder matches were good. One of the results was kind of cool, so yeah, alright. Christian and Orton, I thought the ending was kind of lame, but, I was there for the main event anyway, so I didn't really care. But yeah, the main event was definitely the main reason to tune into this show. Everything that I wanted this match to be, it was. Especially the ending, which I'll get into that in a little bit, but the crowd was amazing. The crowd devotion to CM Punk was what I expected and more. It was fantastic. It was great. The booking and the storyline just created this wonderful situation, and it was very exciting. It was one of those, I'm on the edge of my seat the whole time because I don't know what's going to happen, and it's so exciting to feel that way again over a wrestling storyline. And the match came off very well. I thought the ending was great because, you got to think, okay, so obviously they have Punk under contract or they wouldn't be doing this. So Punk's going to come back at some point. But you're thinking, all right, I've always been a guy that believes, okay, who should go over? Well, it should be the one that creates the most interesting situation. Now, if Cena wins, he continues his year-long title reign that we've all been dreading, or at least, I've been dreading and a lot of other people have. Or you put it on Punk and you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. And it could lead to all kinds of crazy shit. So, in my mind, yeah, give the win to Punk. And they did, and it was awesome. And I loved how it ended. And he beat up Del Rio. That was very well done, where Vince called him down to the ring and then Punk just kicked him in the face. Because I was like, no, damn it, is that how it's going to end? But then Punk got away. That was, I thought that was great. I thought it was really well done. And, credit to both men. I'm normally hard on Cena, but this match was excellent. I think it'll be the match of the year. I don't see anything else topping this or having the same emotional investment that any other match had. I know some people are going to say maybe Triple H and Undertaker and Mania, but no, I think this match blows it out of the water. It was just a fantastic ending to a pay-per-view. One of the best pay-per-view endings I've seen in a long time. It was great. And I think, again, they've created the hottest character in wrestling with CM Punk, and he's going to be more over, and he's not going to be on TV every week. And I think that's interesting. It's kind of like Sting kind of had that factor to him in '97 when he was feuding with Hogan, that he didn't show up every week, and he didn't wrestle even, but he was the most over guy on the roster. And I think the WWE has created something like that with Punk, where he doesn't have to be there all the time. He doesn't even have to show up for another 2 or 3 months if they want to stretch it out for, depending on how long they want to stretch it out, I don't know. they've just created a very combustible element and a very interesting and compelling character in CM Punk, and he's the most exciting guy to watch. He's the guy to watch, and we don't know when or where he's going to show up next, and that's exciting. Him and he confronted Triple H at Comic-Con, which I think is great. Great way to continue the storyline, even though they're not on TV. And I'm just loving the storyline, and to me, it's the main reason to tune into Raw, without question. I know some people were a little disheartened when the ending to Raw was all about Triple H taking control of the company from Vince, and I understand that because as someone who's been watching this shit for a long time, I've kind of learned that whenever Triple H or Vince McMahon or both are involved in a storyline, it's going to get repetitive, boring, and the show's going to be all about them, and it sucks most of the time. So I've just learned to kind of get used to that whenever Triple H and Vince McMahon are involved. But I'm going to give this a pass for now, because it's one of those things, well, it's interesting because Vince has been ousted from his own company. And we'll see how they follow up on that next week. But I think that what they did actually adds a lot more to Punk, because he's the guy, more than any other character in any other storyline they've ever done, has bested Vince McMahon better than anybody. I mean, there have been people that beat him up, but at the end, Vince always comes back or something. Or Vince, will find some way to screw that guy over or whatever. Or he'll sick another wrestler on him or whatever they do. But here, Punk is a guy who has beat the WWE system in a way. And, I've been critical of ripping off the Montreal Screwjob, but what made that more interesting to have Punk win is that consider the storyline possibility of what if Bret Hart had walked out with the title that night? What if he'd won and he'd walked out with the title that night and avoided the screw job? What would have happened? And we get to see that now with Punk, and that's fascinating. But now, on top of that, Punk is a guy who has bested Vince in a way that no other character ever has. And now he screwed Vince over so bad that Vince has been ousted from his own company. And that is very fascinating. That's something they could use to build Punk around when he makes his return. And there's so many things they could do with this, like interactions with Triple H and Punk. I know Punk said he wants to work with Steve Austin, which I think that would be interesting. Whoever ends up winning the WWE title, who's he going to work with? I don't know, Punk, the guy who can claim that he's the true champion. Again, maybe, if they strike a deal with Ring of Honor or something, and this is just me just being wild and wacky because I have absolutely no idea what they're going to do with this. What if they strike a deal with Ring of Honor and Punk leads an ROH invasion in the WWE with all these new talents? I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there because, again, it's so exciting to kind of think this stuff out and think, well, where can they go with this? Where can they go with that? Because, before I was worried that they were going to do a Cena year-long title reign. I was certain that that's what they were going to do, and I had it mapped out in my brain. It's all right, he's going to work with Del Rio at SummerSlam. He'll probably work with Mason Ryan when Mason Ryan gets back from his injury, because it seemed like they wanted to push him. And it was going to be boring. It's going to be just Cena. Look, I got bored with it in 2007. I have no desire to see another year-long Cena title reign. But here, it's like... it's so exciting because I don't know how it's going to go, but it has me compelled. And it makes me want to tune in and find out how everything's going to play out, what's going to happen, and where the storyline goes from here. And that's what a wrestling storyline should be. I should be compelled to watch the show every week to see what happens next with each chapter in the storyline. And for right now, WWE has me hooked. They could very well fuck it up. And I understand that. They've done it before. And this is the company that fucked up Edge and Matt Hardy badly. I've never forgiven them for how bad they were handed the hottest feud in wrestling on a silver platter, and they just royally fucked it up. I was there. I was at SummerSlam 2005. Trust me, they fucked it up. So I understand the fear, but for right now, I think they're doing an excellent job. They're doing a fantastic job, and right now they have the hottest storyline in wrestling with the hottest character in wrestling in CM Punk, and kudos to the WWE for that. And, it feels really good to think positively of Monday Night Raw, obviously. TNA's gotten better, as I've said, the last couple of videos. The only show I didn't really give a shit about was SmackDown, but even they started something this week that kind of got my attention a little bit. And I didn't watch the show because I almost never watch SmackDown, but I read the spoilers. And Daniel Bryan has opted to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania, which that is a lot more interesting to me than waiting around and finding out, all right, when's he going to do the shot cash-in after, because they do such, I've said it before, they've used the cash-in as an excuse not to build a guy up, because it's like, oh, he has a guaranteed title shot, and he can cash it in anytime he wants. So we don't have to give him wins, or we don't have to make him look good. He can just cash in the Money in the Bank, and he'll be a star. And, because it works so well with Jack Swagger. And they even did it to Miz to some degree, where he kind of looked like shit as champion up until they started building for Mania, where it was like, oh shit, maybe we should make our champion look good. Maybe, kind of, sort of. But yeah, and I just assumed that that's what they were going to do with Daniel Bryan. But now that they've had him actually designate when he's going to cash in his title shot, it makes me wonder, okay, number one, that gives him a long time to build himself up. Maybe they'll feel compelled to actually make him look credible, and maybe that'll lead to a more significant match at WrestleMania 28. We shall see. But it's interesting, and for the people who've told me, because I've been told quite a few times that nobody that I know truly dislikes Daniel Bryan as a talent, but I've had a fair number of them tell me that he's not world title material. He doesn't have the it factor. And let's assume that that's true. Let's assume, for the sake of this discussion, what I'm about to say. Let's assume that that's true. Okay, he doesn't have the it factor. If he were being interjected into the Attitude Era roster, under the Attitude Era system, okay, fine. He's not going to outshine Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock or Triple H in his prime. And even the next step down, he's going to have to compete with Jericho, Benoit, and Angle because they were the next step down. That's pretty stiff competition to deal with. So, okay, Daniel Bryan not making it to the world title under that system, I can understand that. But take a look at the way things are now. Number one, I hate the fact that there are two world titles. It just makes no sense to me. I probably could accept it if they'd done a better job of actually keeping Raw and SmackDown as separate entities, but they have done a terrible job of that. So, it just feels like overkill to have two world champions, and one of them is going to take precedence over the other title anyway. And the SmackDown title, as it stands right now, to me, is the mid-card championship. It feels like IC title circa 1991, and it doesn't feel like the major title. So there's that. If Daniel Bryan wins that belt, he's not really winning the best title. He's winning the mid-card title. They can call it a world title, but it's secondary to the WWE Championship, especially with the hot storylines that the WWE Championship has going on for it right now. Excuse me. There's that. And take a look at the SmackDown roster. Are you going to tell me that Daniel Bryan is a worse option than Sheamus, who, I like Sheamus, but he's kind of damaged goods. He was a victim of too much too soon, and he's kind of floundering. Is he a worse option than Mark Henry, who they've been trying to get over for 15 years, and it's never worked? Goddamn, I've never seen a guy get as many chances as him. Big Show, who I like Big Show, but I think the wells run dry on him. I kind of feel like, well, I've kind of seen you do everything. I'd rather see something new, given the options. Kane, his well ran dry years ago. He looks like Uncle Fester now, and the last time they put a world title on him, I thought it was a disaster. His feud with Edge and Undertaker were two of the worst main event programs I've seen in a long time, and that is really saying something, considering some of the shitty world title programs we've had in both WWE and TNA over the last couple years. God, who else is on this shitty roster? Wade Barrett? Are you honestly going to tell me that Daniel Bryan's worse than him? I look at Wade Barrett. Number one, he looks like more of a nerd than Daniel Bryan does. I mean, he has the goofiest looking face for a big guy, especially. And he's got the worst finisher I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he's not terrible, but he's ordinary. It's my same problem with Gunner and TNA. Look, it's not that he's bad, he's just ordinary. He's bland. There's nothing there. He's not great on the mic. He's not terrible on the mic, but he's not great on the mic. He doesn't have a great look, doesn't have a great look. In the ring, he's solid at best. He's nothing special. So there's nothing remarkable enough about him to make me think that guy should be the champion. Daniel Bryan, at least, is a damn good worker, and that's kind of his thing. That was Bret Hart's thing back in the day. Bret Hart in the 80s probably never would have been a world champion. But, when Hogan's gone, Warrior's gone, Savage is winding down, and there aren't, Flair didn't really pan out the way they wanted him to. Piper's done. When all that's, thrown in your face, it's kind of, let's just put it on the guy that we know can have the best matches. And if you look at the SmackDown roster, okay, Undertaker and Edge are gone. Undertaker, I guess, is still listed as being there, but he's gone for now. I wouldn't be... I've called it. I don't think he's... If he does come back, it won't be until WrestleMania next year. We got Randy Orton's really the only legit guy that, as far as who they've promoted up to that main event level, he's really the only credible guy that they've built up. Christian, his title win this Sunday was shitty. And, again, this is a guy that they spent years telling us that he's not worthy enough to be world champion. And he's world champion now, out of necessity, because they don't have any other good heels that could carry the ball. And they're going to try and milk this Randy Orton and Christian feud for as long as they can, because there aren't a whole lot of options. God, who else is there? Sin Cara might be gone, and I don't see him as a world title guy, even if he did stay. Cody Rhodes and DiBiase, I felt like they got fucked over royally, the way Legacy was handled. And I'm surprised at how many people just really like the dashing Cody Rhodes gimmick. Maybe it's just because I don't watch SmackDown that much, but I just really didn't care for it. And who else is there? It's kind of I think Daniel Bryan's the best guy to go with, and they'll give him a long build-up. He wins the title at WrestleMania, and just let him be the pure wrestling champion. He's going to be the mid-card champion anyway, because it's the secondary of the two titles. He's going to be... he's not going to have a whole lot to work with, again, if you look at the SmackDown roster. I'm sure they'll do the draft next year, but again, look, just let the best worker... This is a case where I say, just let the best worker be the champion, because all your other options, none of them do anything for me. So you might as well just put it on the guy that has the best matches. So that's interesting. That's something that SmackDown has going for it, more than they have in a while, because I've just never... ever since they fucked up Punk in 2009, I really haven't been that invested in SmackDown. And I think it's gotten worse and worse and worse since then. But this is something that's kind of caught my interest a little bit. So, yeah, we got Raw has the hottest storyline in wrestling. Impact's gotten a lot better. Not perfect, but it's still gotten better. And SmackDown finally stumbled onto something that caught my attention. So it feels good to feel positive about the wrestling products. And I like talking nicely about them. Hopefully that stays the case. And hopefully I'll have more nice things to say about WWE and TNA as we move forward. But until then, I'm out for the week. Later, everybody.